Any kind of update on Kevin Hayes?
Yeah, it's Kevin is out with an upper body injury. We are going to be reevaluating in about a month, and so based on that time frame, will not be available there to start the season.
Evgeny Malkin, we spoke with him today. He said some very enthusiastic things about the atmosphere you've kind of created here in the first few days of camp. Just what have your interactions been like with Evgeny thus far? It's a pretty dynamic, large personality. And how do you view him as a player at 39 at this stage of his career and what he's still capable of?
Yeah, well, they've been great. You know, I mean, it's been especially since he's come back into town and being able to have some conversations face to face. It's a guy like him, and there's others here too that you kind of put in that same category. But you coach against him. You've watched him play for so long now, and just all the achievements that you have, and then just getting an opportunity to actually meet the person, and so he's been great though, and I think you've seen it the last couple of days too. Like sometimes it's incredible when you think about somebody like him, and again amongst others, with Letang and with Sid, but you're like how they've been doing it for so long, and the level that they're able to play. I mean, the level they've been able to practice, just watching those against guys that they're young, guys that are 18, 19 years old. So it's it's really been great to see from up close. It's one thing obviously always been impressed coaching against him or watching him on tape, and then getting to see it firsthand. It's a whole different level, and so it's been really good first couple of days there for him, and enjoying getting to know him.
What do you make of Ryan Graves' last season from your outside perspective or your video, and then what does he need to do to have a successful season this year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're going through the interview process, and then afterwards, when you actually have the opportunity like this, you watch a lot of film, and I think you always got to be careful when you just go back 1 year, because it doesn't really tell the whole story. Not all the time. For seasons that go really well, or for maybe seasons that players aren't as happy with. And so, for myself and for our coaching staff, if there's somebody that has had a season, when we're in a situation like this, starting to make evaluations, you want to get more than just that past year, because there's a lot of things that could be going on. There's just it happens not just in hockey but in sports, and maybe things aren't going your way, you don't start a season exactly the way you want, or there's so many different reasons. That doesn't always paint the exact picture. It's not a real picture. And so again, not just saying seasons don't go well, also seasons that go really, really well. You got to dig in a little bit more, and I think sometimes it's going back and watching somebody from previous seasons. Sometimes it's through conversations, and so all those things have taken place. Not just myself, but with our coaching staff, conversations have taken place, and I think that everybody agrees that he feels he's got more to give. I've seen a player that has more than maybe was shown there in the past, and so now it's about working to get back to that place. And I think a player with that plays the type of game that he can. Player that's the size that he is, I think sometimes it's just getting back to those things that make you, and it led to success in the past, taking away time and space, a great stick detail, some of the defensive details that you want out of a player his size that he's shown, movement in transition, puck movement, in transition, those types of things, and so. Has he done it before? Yes, I've seen that. And so, does he believe he can take his game to another level? I think he does. And so, I think this training camp is going to be a great opportunity for him to just kind of, really continue to work to get his game to where he wants it to be.
Can I ask you about a couple of young forwards, Avery Hayes and Tristan Burrows, and what your early impressions are of how they are competing against now the NHL talent?
You're talking about in the last two practices?
Yeah, the last couple practices, yeah.
Yeah, those guys, both guys, they're young, obviously younger. And so sometimes I feel like you take guys like that and like, maybe a little bit similar in terms of size, and so you put them in the same category, like they are, but they're different too, and I think both guys have done a really good job, and I should leave with that. And I thought it was really enjoyed, and got a lot of, being able to watch those guys amongst others, at the rookie tournament. And I thought you saw, with Hayes, it was start to finish, it was every game. It was like when they needed a momentum swing, it was like, bang, there it is. Like he found a way to do it some way, whether it was a big goal or a big play. And then, Bros, I thought, especially as you worked through that tournament there at the end of that last game, really started, felt comfortable. And I thought for both guys, and I alluded to this yesterday, it's great when you see that, because now it's like, okay, can you carry that into camp? And I think both guys have. They're off to a good start, I think they're both guys that are trying to find ways there, to get noticed and to make an impact. And it's not easy to do that in an NHL training camp, especially with some of the guys that you have on the ice with. And so it's been good to see. On that, it's day 2, and so there's a lot more work to go, a lot more to be done. But yeah, I think both guys have been out there and in their own ways, finding a way there to try to make an impact there in these practices.
Josh.
And Sergei Miroshov is a guy who generated a lot of buzz last season because of what he did in the minor leagues. I think the talent he has is pretty apparent. What have you seen in the first 2 days of camp, and what do you think? I know you haven't been around him that long, but what do you think his ceiling as a goaltender might be?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think everybody's ceiling is really high. You have to. And I mean it with that. I don't come in here being like, it's more of what can somebody become? You look at that, it's what could they become? Especially, I think everybody, but especially when you're talking about a young player like that. And I also I don't know, he's a driven kid. He's a competitive person. I've seen those attributes. He seems to really, really care about, his craft, but I also think he's a guy who, when he gets on the ice, he wants to compete, and that's what I've seen. You take those types of attributes, with the skill set within his position that he has. Who are we to try to put a ceiling on something like that? That's up for him to decide.
West in the middle. Dan, going back to talking about Evgeny Malkin, he was the latest veteran guy to talk about how much he's enjoyed the intensity of these practices today, and then. After that last session, I saw you at the whiteboard with Sid. Just how much easier is it going to make it for you once you really do get into implementing systems and things of that sort to get those things straight with those guys really on board of what you're giving and providing the team right now?
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. To have that, it's awesome. And it's those types of conversations, those are fun. You talk about different things. I think when you got guys like that, what enables you to do is they've seen so much and they think the game is such a high level, and so they're gonna know where some of the gray areas are, the things that we're doing. And there's gray areas in everything. There is no perfect system. There is no perfect way of playing this game. We are talking about the most imperfect game probably in the world. That's what it is. And so, but they've seen things that as we go through it, we're going to be detailed, and we're going to go through a lot of different scenarios, but there'll be other things that come up. And honestly, those are fun conversations to have. They're fun to go back and forth and be able to talk about these different things. There's more than one way to do it. And I'm a big believer in that it's not just about you have to have this one system, this is the only thing that wins. I believe more in that, all right, what fits your group, and making that, and most importantly, it's that everybody's connected on the same page. That's the number one. And to do that, you got to eliminate some of those gray areas. And in every training camp in the league right now, I can guarantee you gray areas are going to be coming up. There's going to be things that people are unsure of, which creates hesitation and uncertainty. And part of our job right now is to eliminate as much of that as we can by the time the first game happens. And if we do that, we connect. We plan together. We unite. Again, within the most imperfect game in the world, so it won't be perfect. It never will be perfect, but we'll be, I think, that be in a position where there's predictability and there is connection on both sides of the puck. That's what you want. And training camp, especially a training camp like right now, where you have a new coaching staff coming in, there's a lot of new. is really important.
Two more, Kelsey in the back.
You had Harrison Bruinic and Owen Pickering paired during practice today, and those are two guys that Kyle mentioned by name at the end of the season that should be in the mix for a roster spot this season. So what are your initial impressions of each of them and what they have to do to stay in the mix for a spot?
They're good. It's the impressions have been good. And I'll kind of go back to the question from the forward, similar. It's like, it's day two. It's day two. I think both players, obviously, and I'm familiar with kind of where things were with them both last year. Between from training camp through the end of the year, and I was able to learn a lot about them even prior to coming in to rookie camp, and then you learn a lot more there in rookie camp, watching the practices, watching the games, better feel for them. I think both guys they're exciting young players, but they're young, and it's like just continuing for them to kind of push. Continuing for them to continue to learn some of the details of the game there that are so important for that position that you have to have when you're going up against top forwards in the world. And so follow up there on what I said with Sergey, these guys they're players and they do seem driven, they do seem like they're eager, they want to learn. And the guys that are, passionate about the game. And so you got a lot of good qualities there. And I'm excited to continue to watch this move through camp.
Last one, really.
Coach Mike Malkin spoke earlier. He spoke positively about the fact that the first meeting we had with the guys was, you mentioned, everybody's even. There's no superstars, no veteran, no young talent. Just why was it important for you to make that statement going into training camp for everybody?
I think for everybody, we're building something, we're building something together. And so that's what we're doing. We're building, and we have to do together. Everybody has to be involved in that. And so this is I agree with me. It's unique here, and I say that in a really good way. But it's unique. You have this. You have future Hall of Famers and these legendary players, and you have these really these younger up and coming players that are knocking on the door, and then you have players that are coming in for maybe a second opportunity from somewhere else. They're exciting, and there's great things within their game that could come out, and then you almost have everything in between. And so you're bringing that all together. If we start looking around and waiting for somebody else to do it, we're not gonna be taking the steps that we need to. And so everybody's got to come in here right now, and they got to continue for all of us. Everybody at this camp right now has to earn things. I need to earn things. I need to come in there. The coaching staff has to earn things. And that's good. And that's positive. And that's exciting. And that's the way it should be.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you.